One day in Poland, a man dressed all in black and wearing a black hat was walking in the darkness of the night. Then someone stopped the man. He then invited the man in the black hat to a shooting match. The man in the black hat agreed to the shootout. They both held their guns towards each other. Then the man in the black hat was able to shoot the man first until he fell. As the man in the black hat was about to leave, the man who was shot called out. The man in the hat was surprised that he wasn't dead, so the man in the black hat shot him again. The man in the black hat felt something was wrong with his gun. The man in the black hat was named Jijin Daisuke, who was a Japanese marksman and weapons expert. Daisuke then went to Mexico to see a weapons expert. He tried to shoot with his combat pistol, which turned out to miss by a few inches. This made Daisuke uncomfortable. He then tried shooting with other pistols, and the results were all right on target. Daisuke realized that something was wrong with his gun. He asked the weapons expert to check his gun. But the weapons expert found no fault in Jijin Daisuke's gun. Instead, he offered Daisuke a new gun, but Daisuke didn't want to replace his favorite combat pistol with a new one. Then Daisuke decided to leave there. Before leaving, the weapons expert gave Jijin the address of a weapons expert so that he could get his gun repaired. The address was located in one of the cities in Japan. Hearing that, Daisuke was silent for a moment because he had left Japan for a long time. Long story short, Daisuke arrived in Japan. He went straight to Digyogai City, where the weapons expert was located. It is known that Digyogai City was a city inhabited by immigrants from all over Japan. Soon Daisuke arrived in the city. He met a prostitute named Ruri. He asked about the location of a bar. Ruri happily showed Daisuke the direction. Then he went to the bar and met a man named Kinzo. Because Daisuke had not returned to Japan for a long time, Kinzo then gave him information about Digyogai City, which was used as a place of escape for criminals and homeless people. Kinzo also said that this city has a new leader because the previous leader was killed by the current leader. Kinzo then gave the address of the weapons expert Daisuke was looking for named Shiharu. Kinzo also said that Shiharu used to make weapons and send them to the old leader, but now she chose to open a watch shop in the city center. So Daisuke must go to the city center to meet Shiharu. In the morning, Daisuke went to a small watch shop in the city center. He was hesitant at first because he saw two elderly people guarding the watch shop. But Daisuke entered anyway and said that he was looking for a person named Chiharu Yaguchi. Then a grandmother became silent because it turned out that it was Chiharu Yaguchi. She then asked if Daisuke wanted to fix his watch, but Daisuke said that he wanted to fix other things. This made Chiharu realize that Jijin was going to repair the weapon. She then told her friend to go deliver the goods. Then Daisuke took out his revolver-type combat pistol. Chiharu then checked the gun and said that she couldn't fix it because she was retired. Hearing that, Daisuke did not force Chiharu to fix the combat pistol. He decided to leave there. In a place, there was a thug named Yuya being beaten by an unknown person. Fortunately, not long after, Yuya's girlfriend Kyoko came to save him. Yuya and Kyoko turned out to be looking for a girl who was kept in that place because she was a special child. After successfully taking the girl named Odo away, Kyoko felt disappointed because Yuya wanted to sell Odo to others so he could get a lot of money. Meanwhile, at the hotel, Daisuke was still trying to find something wrong with his gun. But unfortunately, he didn't find any irregularities that made the gun miss. Until the next day, Daisuke came to Chiharu's place again. Daisuke didn't give up on seducing Chiharu to fix the gun, but soon there was a little kid who turned out to be Odo. Then Odo gave Kyoko a broken watch. Chiharu, who saw it, immediately knew that the watch was Kyoko's. Chiharu wanted to know where Odo got the watch, but Odo, the girl, didn't say a word to Chiharu. On the other hand, in a luxurious building, there was a woman sitting in a wheelchair. She was Adele, the new leader of Digyogai City. She met a yakuza hero. Adele saw Yuya being tortured by Hiro because it turned out that Yuya intended to sell Odo to Hiro. Hiro was angry because he never involved a child in his business, but Hiro just realized that it was Adele who looked for children to work with her. Yuya told Hiro that Adele was very cruel when kidnapping children. Hiro, who heard that, was very angry at Adele. Hiro allowed Adele to continue the drug business, but she couldn't use children anymore. Hearing that Adele refused because she didn't want to be prohibited, Adele then casually confronted Hiro's men by removing her fake leg. Adele, who was annoyed because Hiro threatened her, then took the gun she had hidden in her fake leg. Adele quickly shot Hiro to death. She also fought Hiro's men, one by one, while still sitting in her wheelchair. Even so, Adele, who has armed abilities, managed to easily defeat Hiro's men. Meanwhile, outside the room, Hiro's men have died because they were killed by Adele's right hand named Takeshi Kawashima. He has the ability to transform into some of the people he has killed. At Chiharu's watch shop, Daisuke talked with Chiharu. Chiharu told him that the watch Odo was carrying belonged to Kyoko, a prostitute she knew. Back then, Kyoko was pregnant and asked Chiharu for a gun because she wanted to finish off her boss who told Kyoko to have an abortion. But Chiharu didn't give her a gun, but a watch where Kyoko could exchange the watch for a gun when she needed it. Then Chiharu asked Daisuke to help find Kyoko. At first he didn't want to, but after Chiharu promised to fix the gun, Daisuke finally wanted to find Kyoko. Then Chiharu lent a gun to Daisuke. After that, Daisuke and Odo went to Kyoko. On the way, Daisuke asked Odo to write down the train that Odo got on before. Odo, who didn't want to talk, made Daisuke annoyed. Finally, he gave a book to communicate with Odo. After Daisuke left, there were several people who turned out to be Adele's men named Kawashima. He deliberately chose not to chase Daisuke because he knew that Daisuke was an expert shooter. Therefore, Adele's men chose to follow Daisuke. On the other hand, Odo, who looked scared, couldn't walk because she saw Kyoko's corpse, so Daisuke carried her. Meanwhile, at Adele's place, there was a mobster named Ikama who wanted to meet Adele. Then Adele offered him her drug products that could give high hallucinations and could even reduce the aging process. Adele gave a photo of her 20 years ago, who was then a fugitive from Interpol. But Ikama didn't seem to believe in Adele. So, Adele asked Ikama to bring important people, such as officials and police officers, so that they would be addicted to Adele's drugs. Not long after, Kawashima came to see Adele. He told her that Odo was with Daisuke. Hearing that, Adele realized that Daisuke was a difficult person to fight, so Adele made a plan to fight Daisuke. At Chiharu's place, Odo was sleeping and delirious. Chiharu, who found out about it, then said to Daisuke that Odo seemed to have suffered a severe trauma, so she didn't want to talk. Daisuke, who found out about it, then concluded that Odo was afraid, so Odo was also afraid to speak. Chiharu then wanted to take Odo to the police station, but Daisuke forbade her because he would find out about Kyoko and Odo's relationship first. Meanwhile, Kinzo, who was sitting casually at the bar, found Kawashima with a different face. Kawashima then took Kinzo to a place and asked about Jigen Daisuke's whereabouts. It was revealed that Kinzo used to be a reliable assassin before Kinzo finally lost his hand. Kinzo refused to tell Kawashima about Jigen Daisuke's whereabouts. Seeing Kinzo, who refused to tell about Daisuke, Kawashima cruelly killed Kinzo. After he killed Kinzo, Kawashima approached a woman named Yuri. Yuri turned out to be Kawashima's girlfriend. Yuri worried about her boyfriend, who was often injured since Adele became the city leader. The next day, Daisuke went down to Chiharu's secret place. He found a note about his combat pistol. Chiharu had apparently replaced parts that were not compatible with Jigen Daisuke's gun. Seeing that, Daisuke felt quite unfamiliar with his gun, so he had to familiarize himself with it. As Daisuke was looking through his gun, he heard someone seem to come out. Daisuke then saw that it was Odo running away from Chiharu's watch shop. Daisuke then chased Odo, and fortunately Odo wanted to return to Chiharu's watch shop. Then they returned to Chiharu's place. In the city center, Chiharu met Ruri and asked about Kyoko's whereabouts. But Ruri had no idea where Kyoko was because she didn't see her for a long time. Chiharu then asked if Kyoko had a relationship with a little girl. Hearing that, Ruri didn't know anything. Ruri only knew that Kyoko was with her new boyfriend. Shortly thereafter, Adele and her men came to see Chiharu. Adele was very happy to see Chiharu come to the city center. Then Adele invited Chiharu to work together in a way that Chiharu had to supply weapons to Adele. Chiharu, who heard that, was surprised, but she refused the collaboration with the excuse that she was retired. Adele surprisingly didn't force Chiharu. She immediately left Chiharu and Ruri. Meanwhile, at Chiharu's place, Daisuke and Odo returned there. Daisuke then gave Odo something to eat. He then opened the book he gave Odo. Jijin was surprised to see the contents of Odo's writing, where she wrote about the events in her past. Odo said that she was abused by her adoptive father. Even Odo's mother died because of Odo's adoptive father. Odo's adoptive father also didn't give Odo any food. Jigen, who read Odo's story, was upset. He felt that the things that Odo's adoptive father did were very cruel. Moreover, Odo's adoptive father sold her to a place where Odo's blood was taken by bad people. Then Daisuke wanted to buy cigarettes but found that cigarettes were no longer sold in Japan. Daisuke then offered Odo a candy, but Odo wanted a rope to tie her book so she could hang it around her neck. After strolling for a while, they returned to Chiharu's place. When they arrived at Chiharu's watch shop, Daisuke saw a girl in the shop. Daisuke looked at the girl suspiciously. It turned out that the girl was Kawashima, who turned himself into a girl. In the evening, Daisuke and Chiharu talked. Chiharu told the results of her investigation that Odo turned out to have no relationship with Kyoko. Daisuke realized that the residents of this Digyogai town came from all over Japan. He felt that Odo was the target of others. However, in the middle of their conversation, the lights suddenly went out. Daisuke then sent Chiharu to the secret room. Meanwhile, he went to get Odo. When Daisuke went up, he realized that there were several of Adele's men who were preparing to attack Daisuke. Luckily, Daisuke has strong instincts. He then managed to make one of Adele's men faint, while the other two Adele's men saw their friend faint and saw the gas that was released from the canister. So, they couldn't use firearms. Daisuke then prepared with a knife to fight Adele's two men. Daisuke easily defeated Adele's two men. After that, Daisuke looked for Odo, but sadly Kawashima managed to take Odo as a hostage. Daisuke was about to shoot Kawashima, but he was afraid of hitting Odo. Suddenly, Kawashima threw a knife at Daisuke. This made him faint because the knife contained anesthetic. Kawashima, who saw Daisuke fainted, felt happy. He got Odo out of there and headed to Adele's place. When Odo arrived at Adele's place, Adele then took Odo's blood. It was revealed that Adele's drugs came from the blood of traumatized children. So, the more severe the trauma of the children, the better the blood to be used as drugs. 2 days passed. Daisuke just woke up from his stupor due to Kawashima's poisoned knife. Chiharu wanted to report Odo's kidnapping case to the police. Daisuke disagreed because he thought that the police were unable to handle this case. A few moments later, the residents who knew about Odo at Chiharu's place gave Odo food. This made Daisuke feel that he had to save Odo right away. He also felt that he had a responsibility to Odo's safety. Daisuke then asked permission to borrow Chiharu's gun for a little longer because his gun was still having problems. Then Daisuke met his friend named Yasuhara. Daisuke would like to find out Odo's whereabouts and all the information about Adele. In addition, he bought ammunition for his gun. Yasuhara told him that Adele was a woman who had the ability to shoot swiftly. He also mentioned that there were a lot of assassins in Adele's headquarters, so Daisuke must be careful against all of them. Yasuhara knew that Jigen Daisuke's chances of winning were very small, especially since Jigen Daisuke's gun was still damaged. A while later, Daisuke arrived around Adele's place. Then the danger siren sounded, which made the residents afraid and went into their homes. Adele's mercenaries prepared to fight Daisuke. Likewise, Kawashima, who was still with his girlfriend, quickly went to Daisuke, while Adele, who knew Daisuke was coming, felt happy. Daisuke then easily fought them off slowly, but he ran into trouble that made him grab an automatic weapon and fire on them all. Moments later, a bus broke through and blocked the mercenaries' view. Daisuke then entered the bus. He found out that Chiharu was driving the bus. She came to deliver Jigen Daisuke's combat pistol. Chiharu then told him to focus on fighting them all. Daisuke quickly shot them with his combat pistol. He then carefully entered the lower building. After fighting the mercenaries, he entered the warehouse. Then the lights went out and it appeared that Kawashima had planned it all. He wanted to limit Jijin Daisuke's visibility. Kawashima then followed him like a shadow. He then injured Daisuke with his knife. He even stabbed the knife into Daisuke's shoulder. Daisuke then shot the gun up so he could see Kawashima, but that made Kawashima throw his knife at Daisuke. Daisuke was annoyed with Kawashima, so he then shot Kawashima and managed to kill him. Daisuke then succeeded in entering Adele's room. He wanted to instantly kill Adele with his gun, but Adele told him to stop because there was Odo sitting on Adele's lap. Then Adele told Daisuke to leave because she would give Odo a decent life. Then Adele stood up and gave bullets to Daisuke. She invited Daisuke to a shooting match. Adele then pushed her wheelchair and said that if the wheelchair touches the wall, then the match begins. Moments later, they picked up their respective guns and fired. Daisuke shot Adele dead in the chest. After that, Daisuke felt happy. So, he took Odo back to Chiharu's place. The next morning, Odo, who was dressed feminine, came to the dining room where Daisuke and Chiharu were. Chiharu wanted to adopt Odo. Then the three of them ate and laughed together. After that, Daisuke left Chiharu's place. He relaxed while waiting for a pickup. Soon, a yellow car arrived and Daisuke left Japan.